The most ridiculous of all the Fox News hosts, not Hannity, but this guy barely edges out Hannity, he broke out his fake announcer voice again. I'm talking, of course, about Todd Starnes. And he did a rant about American Sniper. Let's watch.
I'm Todd Starnes with this American Dispatch. It was another jaw-dropping weekend for American Sniper. More than $200 million in ticket sales, routing the competition and driving liberals bonkers. The New York Times dismissed the massive crowds as Southern and Midwestern. Former DNC Chief Howard Dean called all you folks who saw the movie very angry men, Tea Party types. And consider the latest Twitter tantrum from that tweeting twit Michael Moore, asking, what would Jesus do? Oh, I know what he'd do. Hide on top of a roof and shoot people in the back. What would Jesus do if he could be a sniper and save soldiers' lives by shooting savages in the back? Well, I'm no theologian, but I suspect Jesus would tell that God-fearing, red-blooded American sniper, well done, thou good and faithful servant, for dispatching another godless jihadist to the lake of fire. But then again, I'm no theologian. There was a time when Hollywood and Democrats stood in solidarity with our fighting men and women, folks like Jimmy Stewart and Bob Hope and John Wayne, American heroes. Those days are long gone.
Where do I begin? I can't get over it. You have to stop with the voice, man. You have to stop. I know that's like the tiniest minor side detail of a point to bring up here, but I have to bring it up because it's indicative of the kind of people that we're dealing with, where everything is like, is my posture good? Is my fake announcer voice right? I hope all the 80-year-old white men listening here think that I sound like a generic 1950s asshole on local news stations. You do, man, you do. You won in that regard. Enough. Stop. You know damn well that when he talks to his mom, he's not like, and mother, I'm wondering, would you please get me a lemonade? I'd really appreciate it. I'm Todd Starnes. Stop, just be a normal person. Okay, sorry, I had to get that out of my system. But his argument is, hey, man, American Sniper, Jesus. I mean, of course Jesus would love the American Sniper. He's pro shooting people in the face. Thou shalt, use a top-of-the-notch scope, I believe is, what is that, Psalms? Is that in Psalms? I believe Luke 24 is, thou shalt destroy thine enemy from 447 yards away. Is that how it goes? Look, man, if you are somebody who's a war hawk, okay, we get it. Like, war hawks exist. I'm, of course, not a war hawk. I'm a non-interventionist, and I think war should be an absolute last resort. Apparently, these guys disagree with that. But if you're a war hawk, okay, fine, you're a war hawk. I get it. And we could have a conversation. We could have a debate. I mean, John McCain's a good example of that. But do not pretend like that belief is not contradictory with the religious belief you pretend to have. Because it absolutely is. Now, of course, you're still a Christian if you call yourself a Christian, because that's how this game is played. That's how it works. There's no doubt about that. But don't pretend like Jesus would be on the sidelines giving you a thumbs up if you decide to go around killing people. Okay, people need to understand that. Like, take the Bible verse, you know, the turn the other cheek story. Okay, turn the other cheek does not mean what a lot of people think it means, which is, hey, if you get into trouble, you get into some sort of an altercation, just turn the other cheek and walk away. That's what a lot of people interpret it as. That's not what it is. Read it. You know what turn the other cheek is really about? It's about if somebody slaps one side of your face, then you turn the other cheek and present the other side. It's an argument for pure pacifism. Not non-interventionism, which is what I'm in favor of when it comes to international politics and foreign policy. My idea is we're not going to fuck with anybody unless they're threatening to, there's a threat of imminent attack against the nation. Then I'm fine with war. Jesus isn't even okay with that. He disagrees with violence from the jump. As a matter of principle, he's anti-violence, to the point where even if somebody slaps you on one side of the face, he presents the other side and says, go ahead, hit this side too. Pure pacifism. There's not a single argument that he would be in favor, especially of the Iraq War, never mind any other war. Remember, the war in Iraq, man, we are talking about, first the argument was, well, Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11. It turned out, of course, that was bullshit. It was Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda responsible for 9/11. So then when the population caught on to that and the media caught on to that, then the Bush administration moved the goalposts. And they said, well, no, he has weapons of mass destruction. Forget the 9/11 argument we used. Now we're changing it to he has weapons of mass destruction. Now, number one, he didn't. And number two, the assumption was he has them and he's going to use them, which is another tremendous jump in logic, which is not true. Even if he had them, he wasn't going to use them immediately, because then he would have been destroyed in 0.2 seconds. He knows that we would have fired right back immediately and he would be dead. So that was bullshit. And then they moved the goalposts again to he's just a bad guy. He's just a bad guy. Oh, really? That's an argument to start a war and stay there for over a decade and kill 200,000 civilians in their country. He was a bad guy. We need to bring freedom to the Iraqi people if we have to kill every last one of them. That's basically the argument the U.S. was making. And what do you mean, bad guy? We support a lot of bad guys. What, we're responsible to go topple every single bad guy around the world? I mean, if that's the case, our military would have to topple our own government, because oftentimes we're the bad guy. But we'd have to go to the Congo, we would have to go to North Korea, we would have to go to Myanmar, which is, of course, an ally of ours. So they just keep moving the goalposts. And you think Jesus would tap these guys on the back, pat them on the back like, great job, son. Keep killing people in this country where we shouldn't be in the first place. Now, I get it. There are there jihadists that eventually went into Iraq? Yes. But were they there when we first got there? No, there was no al-Qaeda in Iraq until after we got there. Again, these are inconvenient historical facts. But here's the important part. Do I even believe that every single kill of the 160 confirmed kills of Chris Kyle, that they were all correct? Every single person was a bad guy. We know that as a matter of fact. Absolutely not. Number one, we know the guy's a liar, as we've covered in detail on the show before, lying about shooting people who were looting during Hurricane Katrina. Absolutely no evidence of that. Killing 2 carjackers that tried to take his car from him. Absolutely no evidence of that. The fight against Jesse Ventura. Absolutely no evidence of that. They weren't even in the same fucking state. So the guy's a total liar. Never mind the fact that he has endless quotes about how there should be no rules of war, and we didn't abide by rules of war. We said we're going to kill every male who's basically in their 20s to in their 60s. We're going to kill them all. We're going to kill them all. He said that, his words. And I'm supposed to believe that everybody he killed had it coming, when he killed way more than anybody else. It's absolute nonsense. But these guys, see, they can't help themselves. I love how Todd Starnes is arrogantly arguing that, like, oh, Michael Moore, you know how these guys are, always bashing America to try to suit their own narrative. No. The one who's trying to suit their own narrative is you. And in your world, it's America has never done any wrong ever. We're always perfect. We're always just. We're always the beacon of hope. We're always the world policeman acting correctly. You're the one that needs to look in the mirror and analyze your own beliefs, because you're the one who's dogmatic. You pretend to believe in Jesus when Jesus is crystal clear that he says, love your enemy, be a pacifist, turn the other cheek. The endless quotes. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's absolutely debatable, and there's 2 sides of it. On this issue in the New Testament, there are not 2 sides of it. So if you're going to say you're a war hawk and you love fighting and killing people and all this stuff, then you also need to say, look, on this issue, sorry, I disagree with my Lord and Savior. You can't have it both ways, because that's what we call a logical contradiction.